Hey everybody, welcome back to the WWE Marathon. I am of course the Tramp. Today we are watching Raw number 6. Now this is a huge episode for WWE. All throughout the show they are hyping up that is the return of Hulk Hogan. It'll be his first episode of Raw that he's ever on. All throughout the first match, which is Bam Bigelow versus Scott Taylor. Yes, that name should sound familiar to you. All they talk about is Hulk Hogan coming back. Randy Savage is putting over that Hulk Hogan is coming back through the entire match, which Scott Taylor does not get any offense, and he gets a little bit of defense, but no offense. This is the guy who would go on to become Too Hot Scott Taylor, and then Scotty Too Hotty. Same guy that does the Worm. So here in 1993, he was jobbing to Bam Bigelow. We're going to see a lot of jobbers that will go on to become other things later on. But yeah, Bam Bigelow gets the win. 2 diving headbutts with another headbutt in between. Not clear why that first diving headbutt wasn't enough, but they don't make a big deal out of it. After the match, there is an in-studio interview with Vince to hype up that there's going to be the live interview later on. And it's a little bit more relaxed. Hulk Hogan is not wearing his colors, and he makes references to having made some mistakes and making a new demandment, because those were his rules. It's not the commandments, because those are God's rules. These are demandments, which are Hulk's rules. But basically he's making a lot of references to the steroid scandal without actually referring directly to having done steroids. But that's why he was gone this time, and now he's coming back for it. After that, we have a 6-man tag match. It's the Beverly Brothers and Shawn Michaels versus Tatanka and the Nasty Boys. And if that match sounds exciting to you, you were not watching wrestling in the early 90s. It wasn't a bad match, but it wasn't a good match either. The Nasty Boys and Beverly Brothers really didn't have anything going on with each other like you would have today, where you would have 2 separate feuds put together into one match. Playa. But yeah, it was basically just these 2 tag teams tagged on to the Shawn Michaels Tatanka feud. This lets Tatanka have another pin on Shawn Michaels to hype up their WrestleMania match, which at this point had been made official. He counters a suplex attempt by Shawn Michaels into a roll-up and gets a quick 1-2-3 after a very long match. Then we have terrific Terry Taylor versus Crush. During the match, Vince McMahon talks about Hulk Hogan trying to become the new head of the President's Council on Physical Fitness, as though that's not a joke. He's trying to sell it as a legitimate thing. For all I know, they actually did have him apply just so that they could do this. I don't know the story there. I know that that would be awful given that there was the steroid scandal. So there's no reason to do that. Rob Bartlett makes jokes about it. Not so much about the feasibility of Hogan doing it, but he slips back into his old radio DJ call-in days where he pretends to be Schwarzenegger, the former head, on the phone with Vince. Does a little bit about Schwarzenegger, doesn't help the match at all, but then again, it's Terry Taylor versus Crush, so there's only so much you can do anyway. They talk a little bit about Doink because of the upcoming Doink versus Crush match at WrestleMania, and I guess Terry Taylor was a bad guy at the time. At this point, he was really more of just a regular jobber for the WWE, so that's what he was doing. It was a quick match. He got put away by the Crush. Then Hogan comes out for the live interview, and 90% of it is about the attack on Brutus Beefcake the week before. He doesn't talk about where he's been, because they already covered that on the in-studio interview. He doesn't really talk about any plans except for the immediate plans, and he has to get to that in a minute. So first, he puts over Brutus Beefcake. He talks about how Money Inc. tried to kill him, but all they did was break his nose. Then he puts over Jimmy Hart, how Jimmy Hart was one of the 2 men looking out for Brutus Beefcake that week, the other being God. and how Jimmy Hart was the one who shielded Beefcake from further damage from Money Inc. Then he brings out Brutus Beefcake. Brutus Beefcake basically says the same thing. I gotta give credit to God, and I gotta give credit to Jimmy Hart. They bring out Jimmy Hart, who is wearing outlandish costume like he always does, but this time colored in Hulk Hogan's colors. Brutus Beefcake is wearing Hogan's colors. They are calling themselves the Megamaniacs, and they are officially a tag team. And Jimmy Hart is officially their manager. I believe this is the first time, at least in his WWE career. I don't know about his time in the Mid-South beforehand, but I think this is the first time in his WWE career that he was ever a face manager, even though he was kind of hanging on Hulk Hogan's jock most of his career. This is where it started on TV that he was doing it. So Hogan then tasks his new manager with making sure that he gets one or both members of Money Inc. in the ring. We know where that's going, into a WrestleMania match, but at the time they're not selling that specifically yet. Hogan is just saying, get me DiBiase, get me IRS, get both of them in a tag match, get them in singles matches. I don't care, I just want them. So at this point there's still a lot of time before WrestleMania 9, so there's some time for them to play with that. But the segment takes up so much time, as well as that six-man tag match that went on forever, that by the time they get to the main event, which is Undertaker versus Skinner, they start the match in the commercial. They come back from the commercial and immediately go back into another commercial. You see less than 10 seconds of a match between commercial breaks. And when they come back from the second commercial break, they immediately end the show. You see 1 minute of action as they start hyping up next week's big show with a championship match between Bret Hart and, quote, one of the head shrinkers, quote. They don't even know which one of the head shrinkers it's going to be. One of them. So they've got a great chance of winning the championship, I'm sure. The match, the main event with The Undertaker wrestling in it, in his second Raw match, ends after the show ended, and we see less than 90 seconds of it because of the commercials and the show ending. That's Hulk Hogan coming back to WWE for you. Thank you for checking out the WWE Marathon. I hope you'll come back tomorrow for the next episode of Raw. We're getting close to WrestleMania. We're almost to that big show. I hope you guys have been enjoying. I hope you guys have been watching on the network, following along, and watching these great shows. Watching to see how the wrestling has evolved from the start of Raw up until where we're at now. Thank you guys. I love you, Trampions. Cheers.